Hey, I'm TheLoopyAlchemist, and you may be wondering, what am I doing in Microsoft Paint? And well, good question. And it's because this is another one of those speculation videos where I'm pretty much assured to get, like, nearly everything wrong, but whatever, these things are always fun to do. Now, before I really get started, quick update about the new Skyrim DLC. We actually got some new information fairly recently that suggests it might actually take place in Hammerfell because it's called Redguard. Now, Bethesda trademarked that name a few months ago, along with Dragonborn, Hearthfire, Dawnguard, whatever, so there is good reason to believe that that actually will be it, because we've actually got some real information behind it, and not just some random Reddit post. I'd still like to see those things come to fruition, but it would be great to see Hammerfell again. Also, interestingly enough, this trademark runs out in February of 2013, so we might see something fairly soon about this actually, but Bethesda always has the option of just extending the trademark, so who knows. Alright, so this speculation video is about where the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to take place. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to assume a few things. First of all, that the Elder Scrolls 6 will actually take place on Tamriel. Well, it would be cool to see another continent like Akavir or Atmora. Yeah, we're probably not going to see those things for a while yet. Also, I'm going to assume that it won't be the... What? No, Windows, I do not want this stupid color scheme or whatever. Shut up. Thank you. Okay, sorry about that. And I'm going to assume that's not going to be the entire continent of Tamriel, because, well, the Elder Scrolls Online is kind of already doing it, and for presumably a console game and a PC game, even though it's next-gen, it still probably won't have the horsepower to do an entire continent on the scale and detail that Bethesda usually does these things in. So, I'm going to assume right away that it's not going to take place in Morrowind, Cyrodiil, or Skyrim. And we can probably cross Solstheim off it too, because, well, just because it's been in a DLC very recently. So my reason for crossing these provinces off is because they've been featured in the latest detailed games, so Morrowind, 3D, very detailed. Cyrodiil, it was the place of Oblivion, again detailed, and Skyrim, duh, of course it's the most recent one. So this leaves us with Black Marsh, the home of the Argonians, Elsewhere, the home of the Khajiit, Valenwood, the home of the Wood Elves, or Bosmer, but I'm just going to ignore all those crazy terms for now, the Summerset Isles, the home of the High Elves, Hammerfell, home of the Redguards, and High Rock, home of the Bretons. So this leaves us with an interesting question. Is it going to be just one province, or is it actually going to be a collection of provinces, similar to Daggerfell, where it had Hammerfell and High Rock? So, I guess the first one I'm going to have to cross off is actually Black Marsh and Elsewhere. I mean, they still could be the location of the Elder Scrolls 6, but I just don't really see it because they're the home of the Khajiit and Argonians, the two beast races, so they'd probably be the most alien ones. Now, this of course could be cool, but considering how mainstream the Elder Scrolls is now, I just don't see them taking that big of a risk. Again, I'm not saying that, like, for sure it won't be, but just that it's the most likely. Partly because, again, it would be hard to relate to the Argonians, I suppose, for at least, like, mass audience appeal. And Elsewhere, at the home of the Khajiit, if they did that, they would just bring all the furries out of the woodwork, and I think things would just be a nightmare. Granted, these provinces do have potential, but Elsewhere has already been recreated pretty well with the fantastic mod Moonpath to Elsewhere. And Black Marsh, there just hasn't really been that much established about it yet. Well, I guess you could say there has been, but you have to dig really deep for it, and there hasn't been that much of a suggestion in it in the lore yet. So, I have to say the next least likely one is... Where'd my cursor go? Oh, here we are. Is probably High Rock, just because it's very, very close to Skyrim, and is geographically, at least I imagine, pretty similar. So we probably won't see it there either. Actually, if you're using that argument, it probably could have been the first one I crossed off the list, but whatever. So, now we're down to 3 provinces. And I guess I'm going to have to say Hammerfell, partly because, well, again, with that whole Redguard DLC, that would knock it off the list pretty easily, but again, that's just speculation at this point, so that's not really enough to go on, but again, it just feels like it would be really not doing anything that new for the series. Because for the last 2 big games, Oblivion and Skyrim, Oblivion played it extremely safe by your general fantasy cosmopolitan Cyrodiil, and Skyrim, well, they took a chance on the more barbarian fantasy and, well, Skyrim. I have to say Hammerfell is, just by tone to Skyrim, a bit too similar. Granted, the landscapes are completely different, but we've got the Nords, good warriors with attitudes, and you could really say the same for Hammerfell, even though there are differences and massive geographical differences. Like Hammerfell, it's got the Great Aclear Desert and the coastal regions along the Iliac Bay, which we haven't seen since Daggerfall, and would be cool to see it, but again, I think it's just a bit too close for Skyrim. Now, you could use that argument to actually suggest that they will do it, because it's playing it safe, and considering how much character Bethesda puts into its worlds, it could really do anything with any province and make it interesting, but still, as we're just speculating in terms of this, I'm going to have to cross it out. So this leaves us with Valenwood and the Summerset Isles. So I think it's probably going to take place in either one of these 2 provinces, or even both these 2 provinces. Because, remember, this is probably going to take place chronologically after Skyrim, because so far all the mainstream Elder Scrolls games have been following each other. Now, with the Elder Scrolls Online, they recently jumped way back in the past, like 1,000 years before Skyrim, but for the 6th one, I have to say they're probably going to go chronologically after it. Now, this, and I lost my cursor again, here we are, is the Alt Meri Dominion, and technically it includes elsewhere as well, but we probably won't see it. If we do, it might be a DLC, but yeah, with that and the Great War, they could really do a lot here. Also, they've always mentioned how the Summerset Isles is an ancient land shrouded in mystery, but haven't really built up that much around it, like, specifically, but we also know that the Psijic Order is, like, around here somewhere as well. So I'm going to have to say that the Summerset Isles is a more likely candidate than Valenwood, but we could see a collection of provinces as well, but again, my money's on the Summerset Isles, partly because of the recent stuff established with the Thalmor has built it up perfectly, and how it's been well established that not all the High Elves are super cool with what they're doing. And I mean, we could always see the Great War resolved in another Skyrim DLC, but considering like how big it is, it seems like it's big enough. Windows, shut up! It's really would be hard to tie a knot that tight in one DLC, and considering how this thing covered all of Tamriel, it's really big enough to be a main quest. Also, with their close proximity to the Psijic Order, and all the other crazy stuff, there's supposedly the continent of Yokuda over there, which is the continent where the Redguards supposedly originated from, and it disappeared, so actually come to think of it, that might be what the whole Redguard DLC is about. About Yokuda returning. That's pretty cool. I should make a video on that too. Make a comment if you want me to do that, because that's something I could easily have fun doing. Okay, back to the Summerset Isles. So besides the recent lore thing connection, like the whole Thalmor thing, building it up perfectly, the tone would be perfect, because it would actually feel a lot like Morrowind, with sort of that whole mystic, almost alien aspect about it, and really inject some new blood into the series. Like, not that I'm saying Oblivion, okay, well, it kinda did, but Skyrim was really lacking it, but just really, really give it a new feel. Also, it's certainly, well, I guess landmass-wise, all the provinces are kind of big enough. And especially with the next-gen technology, it shouldn't really be a problem to do anything, but yeah, just makes the most sense to me, I guess. But again, you can make good arguments for nearly every single province. As far as DLC goes, if it actually is the Summerset Isles, there's so much stuff they could do, and even just throw this in the main game as well. Like, normally main quests in the Elder Scrolls, they follow, like, some ancient evil thingamajig returning, like the dragons returning in Skyrim. Can't find my cursor again. Here we are, here we are. The Oblivion Gates opening in Oblivion, which was in Cyrodiil, the Elder Scrolls 4. Or the Nerevarine coming back in Morrowind. Also, another good reason to not include Morrowind is because, well, besides it just being covered really well in this DLC, Dragonborn, you know, I'm not gonna write the whole thing out. But we got new information, and it's pretty well all ash, at least in Vanderfell. And again, since, like, there's stuff built up around the Summerset Isles, but not entirely explained, we could also just do a lot of new things with the series. So yeah, that's my speculation, I guess. But again, who really knows? Like, this is probably going to be the exact opposite of everything they do. I guess I shouldn't really say that, but it's probably not going to be it at all. But yeah, this is my prediction. Yay. The one thing with Black Marsh, though, even though I knocked it out of the park right away, geographically it's the closest to Akavir, and you can make a DLC to Black Harbor, which is on a bunch of islands that are sort of like midway between Tamriel and Akavir, and that would make a cool DLC, but with really any province you could do that. So, yeah, I'm TheLoopyAlchemist saying thanks for watching, and have fun nerd raging in the comments about whether you agree or disagree with this. I will see you later.